Hey, Shalom Akim, first and foremost, Tahal Yahweh, Shem Yahushua, Shem Rakakwadash, of course, double honors once again. Go out to the apostles, bishops, and elders, great millstone, who rule well. Salutations also go out to the fellow Akim out there on the highways and byways, pushing this truth, all honesty and sincerity. All right, trying to wake up the remaining hopeful elect. This is not Mount DC Camp. And today I am going to, as soon as I get it here, first, let me do this copyright thing here. All right. Eventually, I'll get to it. All right, because what I'm going to play for you here is, I want you to hear it as only this person can deliver it, and that's George Carlin, the late comedian. All right, this is the copyright disclaimer. It says under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, teaching, education, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by the copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. All right. I am in no way profiting off of this. I'm just using this as a teaching tool. All right. Add scriptures with it. That's it. All right. So let's get it on. All right. So here we go.
I don't like words that hide the truth. I don't like words that conceal reality. I don't like euphemisms or euphemistic language. And American English is...
And he's got a point. I'm just going to briefly stop this here because that's one thing I didn't say at the beginning. The English language is infamous for this. It's a word that's fit for deception. All right? That's why it's so good at it. A lot of other nations, their languages don't allow for what English allows for. All right, that's why I say it's a bastardized language, and this is what the point he's making here. It's full of euphemisms and things that other cultures aren't familiar with. They have to learn that as they come over here. All right.
Loaded with euphemisms, because Americans have a lot of trouble dealing with reality. Americans have trouble facing the truth, so they invent a kind of a soft language to protect themselves from it, and it gets worse with every generation. For some reason, it just keeps getting worse. I'll give you an example of that. There's a condition in combat. Most people know about it. It's when a fighting person's nervous system has been stressed to its absolute peak and maximum, can't take any more input. The nervous system has either snapped or is about to snap. In the First World War, that condition was called shell shock. Simple, honest, direct language. 2 syllables, shell shock. Almost sounds like the guns themselves. That was 70 years ago. Then a whole generation went by, and the Second World War came along, and the very same combat condition was called battle fatigue. 4 syllables now. Takes a little longer to say. Doesn't seem to hurt as much. Fatigue is a nicer word than shock.
You see where he's going with this, right?
Battle fatigue. Then we had the war in Korea, 1950. Madison Avenue was riding high by that time, and the very same combat condition was called operational exhaustion. Hey, we're up to 8 syllables now. And the humanity has been squeezed completely out of the phrase. It's totally sterile now.
That's another point.
Operational exhaustion. Sounds like something that might happen to your car. Then, of course, came the war in Vietnam, which has only been over for about 16 or 17 years. And thanks to the lies and deceit surrounding that war, I guess it's no surprise that the very same condition was called post-traumatic stress disorder. Still 8 syllables, but we've added a hyphen. And the pain is completely buried under jargon. Post-traumatic stress disorder. I'll bet you if we'd have still been calling it shell shock, some of those Vietnam veterans might have gotten the attention they needed at the time. But it didn't happen. And one of the reasons is because we were using that soft language, that language that takes the life out of life. And it is a function of time. It does keep getting worse. Give you another example. Sometime during my life, toilet paper became bathroom tissue. I wasn't notified of this. No one asked me if I agreed with it. It just happened. Toilet paper became bathroom tissue. Sneakers became running shoes. False teeth became dental appliances. Medicine became medication. Information became directory assistance. The dump became the landfill. Car crashes became automobile accidents. Partly cloudy became partly sunny. Motels became motor lodges. House trailers became mobile homes. Used cars became previously owned transportation. Room service became guest room dining. And constipation became occasional irregularity. When I was a little kid, if I got sick, they wanted me to go to the hospital and see the doctor. Now they want me to go to a health maintenance organization or a wellness center to consult a healthcare delivery professional. Poor people used to live in slums. Now the economically disadvantaged occupy substandard housing in the inner cities. And they're broke. They're broke. They don't have a negative cash flow position. They're fucking broke. Because a lot of them were fired. You know, fired. Management wanted to curtail redundancies in the human resources area. So many people are no longer viable members of the workforce.
See how they can call anything that they want to soften the blow. In this case where he's talking about, you know, getting fired and all that. And it's reworded, repackaged, all right, to make people feel better. All right, he's going to get to this point where it doesn't matter. It's not going to change the outcome of what happened to you.
Smug, greedy, well-fed people have invented a language to conceal their sins. It's as simple as that. The CIA doesn't kill anybody anymore. They neutralize people. Or they depopulate the area. The government doesn't lie. It engages in disinformation. The Pentagon actually measures nuclear radiation in something they call sunshine units. Israeli murderers are called commandos. Arab commandos are called terrorists. Contra killers are called freedom fighters. Well, if crime fighters fight crime and firefighters fight fire, what do freedom fighters fight? They never mention that part of it to us, do they? Never mention that part of it. And some of this stuff is just silly. We all know that. Like on the airlines, they say they want a pre-board. Well, what the hell is pre-board? What does that mean? To get on before you get on? They say they're going to pre-board those passengers in need of special assistance. Cripples! Simple, honest, direct language. There's no shame attached to the word cripple that I can find in any dictionary. No shame attached to it. In fact, it's a word used in Bible translations. Jesus healed the cripples. Doesn't take 7 words to describe that condition. But we don't have any cripples in this country anymore. We have the physically challenged. Is that a grotesque enough evasion for you? How about differently abled? I've heard them called that, differently abled. You can't even call these people handicapped anymore. They'll say, we're not handicapped, we're handy-capable. These poor people have been bullshitted by the system into believing that if you change the name of the condition, somehow you'll change the condition. Well, hey, cousin, doesn't happen. Doesn't happen. We have no more deaf people in this country, hearing impaired. No one's blind anymore, partially sighted or visually impaired. We have no more stupid people. Everybody has a learning disorder. Or he's minimally exceptional. How would you like to be told that about your child? He's minimally exceptional. Oh, thank God for that. Psychologists actually have started calling ugly people those with severe appearance deficits. It's getting so bad that any day now I expect to hear a rape victim referred to as an unwilling sperm recipient. And we have no more old people in this country. No more old people. We shipped them all away, and we brought in these senior citizens. Isn't that a typically American 20th century phrase? Bloodless, lifeless, no pulse in one of them. A senior citizen. But I've accepted that one. I've come to terms with it. I know it's here to stay. We'll never get rid of it. That's what they're going to be called, so I'll relax on that. But the one I do resist, the one I keep resisting, is when they look at an old guy and they'll say, "Look at him, Dan. He's 90 years young." Imagine the fear of aging that reveals. To not even be able to use the word old to describe someone, to have to use an antonym. And fear of aging is natural. It's universal, isn't it? We all have that. No one wants to get old. No one wants to die. But we do. So we bullshit ourselves. I started bullshitting myself when I got to my 40s. As soon as I was in my 40s, I'd look in the mirror and I'd say, well, I guess I'm getting older. Older sounds a little better than old, doesn't it? Sounds like it might even last a little longer. Bullshit, I'm getting old. And it's okay, because thanks to our fear of death in this country, I won't have to die. I'll pass away. Or I'll expire like a magazine subscription. If it happens in the hospital, they'll call it a terminal episode. The insurance company will refer to it as negative patient care outcome. And if it's the result of malpractice, they'll say it was a therapeutic misadventure. I'm telling you, some of this language makes me want to vomit. Well, maybe not vomit. Makes me want to engage in an involuntary personal protein spill. Thank you all.
So there you have it, how they managed to twist things, you know. It's sad, but you know, hey, people fall for it. That's just, you know, another one of this devil's gifts, which was deceit. Aside from the sword, you know, he's a very deceitful person. Goes on to say here, it says, we think in language, the quality of our thoughts and ideas can only be as good as the quality of our language. And it's just better to be straightforward instead of, but this is, what's that, let me see if I can find it real quick and look it up. Because this is what this devil specializes in, let's see. There it is. The use of unnecessarily wordy language, especially in being vague or evasive. A roundabout or evasive expression, a roundabout way of speaking, an indirect mode of statement, particularly a studied indirectness or evasiveness of language in speaking or writing. All right, remember what I said about that quote about what Richard Pryor. All right, he says everything has to be watered down now. All right, and, you know, I think he passed away in 2008. So, which covers, you know, he was talking about ever since, you know, World War I, and how things, you know, were called some or labeled something else in order to it not sound so I don't know direct. All right, try to soften the blow, so to speak. And basically it leads to what some have called the dumbing down of America. Now, what he didn't include in this, which I wish he would have, but with that homo agenda bullshit, All right, we all know, some of them don't. In the early 70s, uh, amongst the medical community, especially psychiatry and psychology, um, it used to be uh, um listed as a mental disorder. They changed it. I want to say 73. It might have been 72, somewhere in there. And, well, what do you have since then? All right. And this plays a part in that, you know. Now people, because of the way it was, the wording was, uh, you know, and then through their media, the way they were portrayed. And I remember back in, what was it, Red Fox did a movie called, what was it, Norman, Is That You? You know, you often use Jakes who were popular to convey a certain message. We all know that. And then the Jeffersons, there was an episode where um, uh, um, Sherman Hemsley's character, George Jefferson, a buddy of his, he went to school, I can't remember which level. He turned out, you know, he was in drag. I mean, you know, and it just progressively got worse, and people were, I say, tricked. But again, you got to understand that media, that's a powerful weapon in either form, in any form, all right? You know, and they convinced people to more or less, especially when it comes to Jake, as long as they do it over there, it's not bothering me. And as a result, look what happened. Now to the point where they have more rights than you or I. Yeah. This is what's, you know, again, because people accepted that bullshit, you know, you gotta water it down, you gotta spare their feelings and all this, you know, and now it's beyond control. I mean, there's really no turning back at this point. This devil knows he's going down. He's trying to, of course, resist and doing everything. He thinks he can change the prophecies. No, it's not going to work. But a lot of Jake, unfortunately, are going to try to stick up for this devil. All right? A lot of our people want to stay here in this shithole. And that's what it's become. America is a joke. It's the laughing stock of the world now. Everybody wants to get away. And that's going into Revelation 17th chapter. All right. All right. Everybody wants to light this bitch up. Why? Because she's been found out. You know, we got all kinds of scriptures. Isaiah 47. Shit. These things that, especially talking about this, those tricks, those witchcrafts, those sorceries don't work like they did. And that's a form of witchcraft, what I've been talking about. All right. Even marketing, when you take it in and of itself, that's witchcraft. All right. They have all there when I brought up Isaiah 47 chapter, where it talks about, well, let's get it real quick. I'll try to end it on this, Isaiah 47. All right, and it says the humiliation of Babylon. That's what we're talking about. All right, everybody sees everybody sees its shame. All right, it says, "Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans." This is America. "For thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Take the millstones and grind meal, uncover the locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man. As for our Redeemer, Most High Yahweh, the Lord of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel. Sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms." All right, remember Revelation 17. Keep that in mind. 6, I was wroth with my people. I have polluted mine inheritance and given them into thine hand. Right, we're under the curses. This was set up to be our punishment. All right, never to be our rest. A lot of Jake haven't figured it out yet. All right, it says, thou didst shew them no mercy, which they haven't. Upon the ancient hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke, and thou saidest, I shall be a lady. This is America. Thou saidest, I shall be a lady forever. Remember Psalms 49:11. All right. They thought that their houses were going to go on forever, paraphrasing. So that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it. Therefore, hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, that sayest in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. Remember, American exceptionalism. All right, and it's stolen goods. It's how else they say it? It'll come to me hopefully. Anyway, it says, therefore, hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, that sayest in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. But these two things shall come to thee in a moment and one day, the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon thee in their perfection, for the multitude of thy sorceries, and for the great abundance of thine enchantments. Remember where I was talking about witchcraft, right? For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness. Thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it hath perverted thee. And thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. Therefore shall evil come upon thee, thou shalt not know from whence it riseth. And mischief shall fall upon thee, thou shalt not be able to put it off. And desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. Stand now with thine enchantments, and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be thou shalt be able to profit, if so be thou mayest prevail. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargaters, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. What should be listed in that also is, remember I mentioned psychology and psychiatry, all right? All right. That's witchcraft. A lot of what you see and what's implemented, these snares and traps that they set come as a result of them seeking counsel from these psychiatrists and psychologists. And I just have to say, because a lot of people don't know, the difference, it's all the same field of study, but the difference being a psychiatrist is a medical doctor. He does a surgical rotation, whereas he goes in there, all right, and performs surgery. So he's more in depth in that. He's an actual MD, a medical doctor. The psychologist is a PhD. He has no medical training, all right? That's the only difference, all right? Same field, just different, I guess you say, aspects. I don't know. But, yeah, that's the only difference. But in any case, yeah, witchcraft. And this is letting them know, this chapter here, these things aren't going to work for you anymore, you know. You were allowed to do these things mainly as a punishment to the Most High's people, Israel. All right. Again, we're still under the curses. Let's see. 14. Behold, they shall be as stubble. The fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. Despite his pride, telling him, you know, yeah, you got this. No. There shall not be a coal to warm at, no fire to sit before it. All right. And thus shall they be unto thee with whom thou hast labored, even thy merchants from thy youth. they shall wander every one to his quarter, none shall save thee. So doesn't look too good for the nation of Edom, all right, the descendants of Jacob's brother Esau. Doesn't look too good, so-called white people today, by and large, all right. And I say by and large because just as Israel was scattered abroad, this devil mingled with the other nations too, all right. All right, so that's going to be it. This devil got a lot to answer for. But like I say, they might take it down, in which case I'll just redo it without the video. But I just thought you should see that. You'll understand it better. So with that, until the next video, hey, Shalom.